Hello everyone, my name is Shrihit and I am Ms. Gracie's former student. Today I will be teaching you 11.2, which is sector area. So let's look at our vocabulary terms first. Population density. Population density is a topic that is used to describe the amount of people in a specific area. This can be set as a proportion, which would be amount of people over or divided by area, which can also be considered as sector area, which is our topic for today. So, what exactly would sector of a circle be? What is a sector of a circle? The sector of a circle is if we draw a circle and you have our center point and you draw our radii, this shaded region will be considered sector of a circle. The sector. And to find the sector, like the area of the sector, you would use the sector area formula. How would you get the sector area formula? First, you would need to know how to find the area of a circle. This is something that you should already know, which would be pi r squared. So if r was equal to 5, area would equal 25 pi, because pi r squared, 5 squared is 25, 25 pi. Now, if you're given a diameter of, let's say, 20, right? And area can only be classified as using radius. So you have to know that radius is half the diameter. So the radii would be 10 in this circle. So you would do, if r equals 10, area would equal 100 pi. Okay, moving on. Okay, area of a sector. To find area of the sector, you first have to know the area of the circle. And basically, if you're looking at this for the first time, you're probably like, what the heck, right? The easiest way to do this is to think of it as a proportion, right? So you're trying to find the sector area over the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, would equal the arc of what sector area you're trying to find. So this would be arc AB. So measure of arc AB over 360 degrees. So this is our proportion. It would be sector area over circle area is equal to the arc over 360 degrees. Now, how would you find this? It would just be sector area is equal to the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, multiplied by measure of AB, arc AB over 360 degrees. And this is how you would find sector area. Now, if you're given a sector area and it asks you to find the area of a circle, you just do the reverse, right? If you're given a sector area, you would multiply this side by 1 over sector area, and you'd multiply the arc measure over 360 by 1 over sector area, and you'd get the area of your circle. Okay, let's start with some extra practice. So, area of circle M. So for circle M, they don't provide us a radius. But like I've said before, we have to know that the radius is half the diameter. So half of 5 is 2.5, right? And so according to our formula of area of a circle, which is pi r squared, you would get r squared, which is 2.5 squared, multiplied by pi. So it's 2.5 squared multiplied by pi. 2.5 squared is 6.25. And then add pi. And then you would find the indicated measure, which would be, if you put this in the calculator, you get about 19.63 centimeters. Make sure you add the square symbol to signify that it's 19.63 centimeters squared. Alright, for number 2, you want to try and find the area of circle R, and you're given a radius. So according to our formula, pi r squared, you would plug in the 7 for r, so it'd be 7 squared pi. So you get 49 pi. And then if you put this in the calculator, you get 153.94 meters squared. And those are your answers. Okay, so for number 3, I have a little circle here. So let's do our diameter, which would be 1.8. So then if you do 1.8 over 2, which would equal 0.9, And then according to our formula, if you square this and then multiply it by pi, and you plug this all in the calculator, you would get 2.54469, which you could just round to 2.5 inches. Always make sure you're using the right unit of measurement, squared, since it's the area. Okay, so diameter of a circle with an area of 10 square feet. So we know that the diameter is a question mark, it's what we're trying to find. So our area formula is pi r squared, and which would equal 10. So we want to try and isolate the r variable, the radius. So you would divide by pi, so 10 over pi, and then you have r squared equals 10 over pi. Then you would square root both sides, and you would plug, and you would get r is equal to square root of 10 over pi. And then since you try and find the diameter, so which would be 2r, so to make it 2, you just multiply this by 2. And to get d, you would do 10 over pi multiplied by 2. And if you plug that in the calculator, you get a rough estimate about 3.56. So this would be diameter equals 3.56 feet. Okay, the radius of a circle with an area of 65 square centimeters. So virtually you're doing the same thing as number 4, but this time you're not going to multiply by 2 because we're trying to find the radius. So our radius is our question mark. So if our formula is pi r squared, which is equal to 65, right, divided by pi, r squared equals 65 pi, then you do the square root, r is equal to 65, the square root of 65 over pi. And then if you plug that in the calculator, you get a rough number of r is equal to a rough number of 4.5. Make sure you put your unit of measurement, so centimeters. Okay, and then our last question, an area of a circle with a radius of 6.1. So we're given our radius. This is basically a basic question. So our formula is pi r squared. So 6.1 squared multiplied by pi. Plug that in the calculator and you get area, which is equal to 116.9. 0.9 yards squared. Okay, so now we're going to talk about sector area. So area of the sectors formed by PQR. So this is angle PQR, right? So we know that there are two sectors being formed. This sector is the smaller sector, and the one outside, this big sector, is considered the bigger sector, right? Because this is also considered a sector. So to do this, let's erase this. Okay, to do this, you would need to set up the proportion, or you can just multiply. So we know that the area of the circle multiplied by the arc measure over 360 will equal to sector area. So let's find the smaller. Let's find the thing PR. So you would do the area, which would be 4 squared, which is 16 pi, multiplied by 140 over 360. You plug that in the calculator, and you would get 19.55. So the smaller arc, so we can say, so the gray region would be 19.55. So we were saying that this is one of the sectors being created. We also have this sector. And to find the central angle for this sector, we know that if this one is 140, then this one has to equal, this one plus 140 has to equal 360. So you can just do 360 minus 140 and you get 220. So this central angle is 220. And it's still the same area, so you just write the same proportion, but you change this top part. So it'd be 16 pi multiplied by 220 over 360. And if you plug that in the calculator, you could say the white region would equal 30.72. And then put your units of measures. Squared. Okay. So this is how you find the sector area of both the sectors. The circle is always, whenever a central angle is being like referred to like here, it's always going to be creating two sectors. Based on the question, it will tell you what sector you need to find. For number 7, it says areas, so it's asking for both sectors. Areas, sectors as plural. So for number 8, it's asking for area of circle Y. So to find the area of a circle, when they give us the arc measure and the sector area, we have to set up a proportion. So it would be the sector area over circle area is equal to arc measure over 360, like we said before. So it would be 4.1 over the formula, which is pi r squared, is equal to 25 over 360. So if you multiply this side by pi r squared and then pi r squared, then you would get 4.1 is equal to 25 over 360 pi r squared. And then you multiply this side by 360 over 25. And then here it'd be 4.1 multiplied by 360 over 25. Okay? So, which would equal pi r squared. So if we do 4.1 multiplied by 360 over 25, plug that in the calculator, and you'd get 59.04. Then you would divide by pi, and then you would square it. To get our radius, equals radius. And our radius is roughly about 4.3 if you plug that in the calculator. And then you just plug this back in the formula, and you get 4.3 squared pi, and that's you get your area. Just plug that in the calculator. And you'd get your exact area as 58.09. And that's how you reverse engineer it to get your area. Okay, so about 70,000 people live in a region with a 30-mile radius. Find the population density in people per square mile. So, like I said on number 1, which was our vocabulary term, the amount of people over the sector area. So, it would be 70,000 over our sector area, or our area, which would be 30-mile radius, so 30 squared, which is 900, and then pi. And if you divide this out, if you plug this in the calculator, you should get your population density, which is roughly about 24.77 people per square mile.